Hello again. So we are back with another World War II. You guys really hate my voice. Haha. Bloody chair. So now we've talked about domestic policy, so we move on to foreign policy. Hitler's foreign policy was quite similar to his domestic policy, to the extent that, IB student right there, to what extent? To the extent that he wanted to make Germany great again, and he wanted to just push aside any impurity. So, as we see, he followed the original Nazi manifesto in 1920, and which he wrote Mein Kampf in 24-25 during his time in prison. And from there he formed this basis of his vision of a new Germany. He had a 4-year plan memorandum in which Hitler planned to prepare the economy for war, such as rearmament, diverting all resources to making to heavy industries and armaments and that kind of stuff. And his wish to break the Treaty of Versailles, the military restrictions wise, it was a prerequisite for expansion. He wanted to break the limits and show the people that he meant business. And since he was committed to the creation of a Greater German Reich, he meant going much further than the traditional nationalist program. Like a keyword such as Lebensraum, living space for the German master race, aka expanding into Eastern Europe, and the Slavs would be slaves because they are lesser people, because the established policy of the Aryan race being the only one true master race, he would use everything else as slaves to the Germans and to his Greater Germany, and he would take all and conquer all. He placed a huge emphasis on rearmament, as we see here with these German generals and an admiral, and then there's like is that Rommel? That's not Rommel. There's like some Wehrmacht generals. There's like a Luftwaffe general. There's a Kriegsmarine admiral, and there's like several other senior ranking officers and lots of like people at the back. In 1933, he had 100,000 men, no tanks, no warplanes, and limited navy tonnage. But by 1939, he had 1,200 bombers, 98 army divisions, which are like a couple million men, 2 battleships, the Bismarck and the Tirpitz, I believe, 2 armored cruisers, Prince Eugen and Blucher, I believe. Or is it? Wait, there's Hipper, there's, hold on, 40, wait, by 1939, the Bismarck and Tirpitz, yes, I think. The Scharnhorst wasn't late, the armored cruiser, that's like a Panzerschiff. The armored ship. I think it's the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. And then you've got the heavy cruisers. Oh yeah, the armored cruiser Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. And you've got like Prince Eugen. You've got the heavy cruiser Prince Eugen, Admiral Hipper, and Blucher. And you've got 17 destroyers and 47 U-boats. But between 1936 and 1939, his rearmament programs just saw a massive increase. 66% of industrial investment was devoted to it. If you remember your curriculum, they will mention somewhere that after 1935, where Hitler negotiated another naval treaty with the UK, he just basically started to rearm in secret, and then after that, when war broke out, he was like, haha, screw you all, I've actually been rearming all this time, it was actually a lie and deceit, and then things went to hell. So Hitler met with his military commanders and outlined his plans for Lebensraum even as late as 1943 to 45 during Barbarossa. And he was an opportunist because in 1938 he summoned the Austrian Chancellor to a meeting and bullied him into appointing an Austrian Nazi as interior minister. He used his leverage and power to bully Austria, which was his home country and his home tie, and the fact that they also spoke German but in a different accent. He basically used his resources to basically build Germany piece by piece. The Austrian Chancellor was also to hold a plebiscite in that year of 1938 whether Austria was to join with Germany. Hitler threatened President Miklas to replace the Chancellor with Seyss-Inquart, and Seyss-Inquart invited the German troops into Austria. The 99% plebiscite, a bloodless invasion, was like a Nazi supervised vote, so there's like ballot like rigging and all that kind of stuff, because there's no way, like even if it's a very overwhelming support for Germany, it would be like 70 or 80%. 99% is just ridiculous. So but anyway, the Germans just went into Austria, and Austria is part of Germany. Then he went for Czechoslovakia, And then Chamberlain tried appeasement, then the Brits were like, oh, we'll give you this bit of Czechoslovakia because the Sudeten Germans. And then Hitler was like, okay, I won't conquer anymore. But then the appeasement failed because Hitler just went into all of Czechoslovakia anyway. And then Britain had signed a treaty with Poland. Then Hitler demanded the return of Danzig for the Polish corridor because Germany needed that space to go into like the North Sea and stuff. And then Hitler secretly approached the Soviet governments for an alliance, as we see, like here's the Molotov-Ribbentrop Treaty Pact thing. The Nazi-Soviet Pact was soon established. And then Hitler just broke everybody's promises and then just went into Poland, then Britain and France declared war, and then Poland was steamrolled by German troops. So Hitler's like that cunning little kid at school. He's like the kid that takes all of everyone's stuff but then doesn't return it. Then when the teachers say not to do it again, he still does it anyway, and then the teachers just can't do anything about it until it's too late. So yeah, it's very brief, but it's sort of set. It's just the general points and some keywords that you need to know as in this topic. So again, comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Well, it's just in a few minutes anyway. I'm recording the next video. Bye.